Hello, career thought leaders. It's good to see you today. And we are joined by the lovely and brilliant Miss Kelly Carroll. And today we're going to be talking about strengths and specifically how strengths show up in personal branding, as well as with the students that Kelly's working with at American University. So, Kelly, tell us a little bit about you're just recently gone through the strengths program, but you went through the branding program a year or so ago. How do you see these two things coming together?
Absolutely. So they kind of go hand in hand, and you can't have one without the other, at least in my personal opinion. When you are looking at your personal brand, it really depends on what your strengths are. And if you don't know what your strengths are, it makes it very difficult for you to articulate who you are as a brand, as a professional. So I definitely see them going hand in hand and helping our clients and helping us as coaches and helping our students establish what their brand is and how to articulate it.
Yeah. And then I think this is interesting because as, career services providers, we're like, well, everybody knows their strengths, right? But we don't. And lots of people don't have the time or direction, maybe the resources to figure this out, right? I mean, I'm guessing you've worked with clients that really didn't know what their strengths were.
Absolutely. We definitely get clients daily who don't even know the true definition of what a strength even is. So, especially as it relates to professional development.
Ooh, that's
So,
such a good point. Okay. So let's define that. How do we define a strength?
so a strength is a talent or something that you like to do, something that you know how to do, and it has then been invested in. You've taken the time to develop the skills surrounding that talent. You have invested in learning more about the talent. You've got experience and you've been intentional about it. And that's when it becomes a strength. So it can really be anything, but it means that you've spent intentional time investing in the development of that talent.
Mm. Yeah. And I was just going to bring up this visual here quickly. So when we talk about personal brand, there's a few different aspects. We'll talk about more of that later. But the idea of strengths is one element that folds into the internal part of someone's brand, right? So we've got the things you're interested in, those, the types of problems you like to solve. Strengths are kind of how you solve those problems and those innate talents, as you're saying, that then we develop. Values being the, why do we want to solve those types of problems? How does that connect with who we are, as well as what we want out of work? And then differentiators, which really are our strengths connected to the value it brings to the audience, right? Differentiator is all about how does my difference add value for the audience? And those things all kind of align with this idea of purpose, that I show up understanding how I can work here with purpose. Purpose to me isn't something you go and find. It's something you bring to everything that you do. And then the goals, which a lot of people don't consider part of your brand, but your brand isn't just who you are right now, it's also who you are becoming. And the intentions that you have set out there for yourself then become part of your brand. And all of that is both connected to the external perceptions other people have of us and how they see our brand, as well as, we love the light bulb analogy, because you can't light up if you don't plug in somewhere that makes sense for you and for all of the things that you bring to work. So that's, that piece of how strengths fit into the overall piece. But the other thing that I know you wanted to talk about too is that strengths doesn't mean that we ignore weaknesses, right?
Correct. Absolutely. And I think that it's really important to note that a lack of ability only becomes a weakness if it gets in your way of doing something. And so, for those of us that are Gallup's coaches, you'll remember that we don't like to call them weaknesses or even focus on weaknesses. If you have taken the Clifton Strengths assessment, then you'll know you have lesser strengths. That's what we call them, lesser strengths. That just means you need to spend time developing them. It doesn't mean that they're a weakness.
Right, and that you can use your strengths to
Mhm.
develop those weaknesses that you really need to develop to get to where you wanna go. So, seeing a gap or, "Hey, if I was better at that, it would help me get to where I wanna go," then we can say, "Okay, what are your strengths, and how can we engage those strengths in addressing whatever that might be?"
Absolutely. We like to say using the desires of our strengths to emulate the behaviors of those lesser strengths.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
So we've got Miss Valerie Sokolowski joining us, and Valerie is one of the originals in the personal branding space. Been doing this work since the early 2000s. So love you, Valerie. Thanks for joining us and saying hello. Yay! I might have frozen there for a second, but Kelly. So sometimes when we talk about branding, I'm in business, or people work with executives, or people work with mid-level job seekers, and you're working with students. Tell me how you see personal branding play into your work with students.
Absolutely. So, with students, what you tend to find is a lack of confidence and a lack of language around articulating who they are and the value that they bring to the professional space. So, I specifically work with graduate business students in my current role, and oftentimes they don't know how to articulate what value I bring to this space. What does this degree support? How do I show up best? How do I communicate that in the interview process? It's like I know I have these skills, but how do I talk about it? And what I'm finding is helping the students understand their strengths helps them to truly build their personal brand around, okay, this is who I am. This is what I bring to the table, and I can be confident in that so that when I do go into this interview, I can say, hey, I am a problem solver who likes to work with multiple people to really truly understand what is happening and what is the root cause so that I can find a solution that satisfies everybody or whatever that case may be. And it helps them better articulate and show up in every aspect. So,
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I actually think is most powerful about branding for students, is that your brand isn't beholden to experience.
right.
Right, you are who you are, and the way that you approach things starts early, right? I see it with my kids already, that their unique promise of value is already showing up, and we can find examples of it in their schoolwork, in their everyday life, at their soccer games. I see it every day, and
Absolutely.
when they can be confident in that, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it's I think that one of the things with my students, they struggle is like you said, it's not beholden to experience. And a lot of times they're like, well, I don't have this job experience. Well, let's take a step back. Let's look at your club leadership. Let's look at how you show up in your group projects. Let's look at how you break down a class assignment. Let's look at who you are in your family structure. We can see your personal brand across all of that. My personal brand has been showing up very clearly since I was probably about 5 years old. And if Michelle Carroll is on the live stream, she can second that. Everybody has said who I am since I was about five. It's been clear. And so helping students to understand that and pull from those other areas helps them to overcome that. Well, you don't have the experience. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
It's just not in the package that you're looking for.
right. Right. And this goes to that positioning piece, because we've got the internal part of brand of who are you. Then you've got the external part about how do you connect to the audience. And this is the part that right now I think students need the most, because they have to understand the audience, the market, the employer that they're talking to. And if they want to show up as being valuable to that organization, especially above whatever automation system the companies bringing in to try to automate those entry level jobs, right? They have to be able to plug their skills in, and nobody's going to do that for them. And that all starts with the confidence of that they do have value, and then with the positioning of how it connects to the companies. Are you seeing that with your students, the kind of struggle to connect those dots?
Oh, absolutely. That's always a fun conversation for me because that struggle to connect the dots for them, I'll ask them to connect the dots and they can't figure it out. And then I'll do it in 2 or 3 minutes and they're like, holy cow, I never thought of that. So that's always a fun conversation.
Yes, yes. And that idea of that it's not rocket science, right? What companies are looking for, the market, the challenges in that market, we get through networking, we get through conversations. Of course, as we teach now in many of our courses, you can get some of that through doing AI market research, and it gives them some power and actually maybe even a leg up on
Yeah.
any age of competitor who isn't doing that type of research, right?
Yeah. I just kind of in agreement and seconding what you're saying too is it's when people understand their brand, when students understand their brand, clients, whoever it may be, you're able to align purposefully. And so that automatically gives you that leg up that you're looking for because you're being more strategic and more intentional about the roles that you're applying for and the positions that you're putting yourself in. You know who you are, you know what your brand is and what you bring to the table. And so you're able to better position yourself and therefore limit, hopefully, some of those rejection emails because you weren't aligned properly. Right.
Right, right. And to be clearer and more thoughtful in the
Mhm.
conversations you're having with employers, networking at the job fairs, right? Because it's job fair season. Is it job fair season coming up here soon?
Yeah, we've got our fair is coming up in 2 weeks. So, yep, it is.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not just getting that resume ready, it's really getting down to the core of who are you showing up as at this job fair and walking in with confidence, right?
Absolutely. It's like you said, your personal promise of value. What's your pitch? What's your professional value pitch that you're bringing to that job fair when you're talking to these employers, right? So,
Yeah. And I'm
definitely.
sure you all put out that list of everybody that's coming and they can do their research even before they get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Yeah. Oh, do we have Anthony who's saying hello too? Hi, Anthony. Great to see
hey,
you.
Anthony.
Love that. Okay, so one of the other things that I hear when we talk about personal branding, because personal branding sounds like a very salesy term, how would you describe personal branding?
I would describe personal branding as identifying who you are and who you want to be at the core, how you want to present to those around you or those that you interact with. And it's a consistent, um, it helps you to show up consistently in every atmosphere, every environment, every place that you're showing up. I don't think that it's a sales thing. It's just more about establishing who you want to be and being true to that. Um, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
right, it's this inside out kind of thing, and a lot of people see
yeah.
it as an outside in, like, what's your resume gonna say? It's like, well, that's the tip of the tip of the pen with branding, but all of the ink that goes into it is the understanding that fills the
Mhm.
well, right? Who you
Yeah.
are, like you said. How do you want to show up? What problems do you want to solve? How do you solve those problems? Like, what is your unique approach? And we all have one, which is, I think, very life giving.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the I so your resume, your cover letter, those types of things, I call them your personal branding toolkit, meaning they are tools that are an extension of your personal brand. They are not your personal brand. If you haven't done the work before creating those documents to identify what your personal brand is, those tools end up coming across scattered and not aligned, and we struggle a lot more to tell our story if we
Mhm.
don't know who we are at the core, which is why
Right.
personal branding is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we look at how fast things change and needing to be more adaptable and move faster, I like to think of that brand as our roots. And then we can bend and go the direction we need to go easier without breaking or pulling up out of the ground and feeling, like we don't have an identity, because we
Yeah.
do have those strong roots, and then the tree can sway easier and fit the need that needs to happen while still feeling rooted in
Mhm.
who we are and what we do. And oh, look at who's listening in to us today. Hi, Michelle. We were just talking about how you could see Kelly's strengths since she was probably 5.
Absolutely.
So,
But
Kelly, what are your strengths in Strengths Finder?
so my top 5 actually changed, although I'm not all that surprised. So my strengths in order are woo, which is winning others over, activator, communication, arranger, and maximizer. Those are my 5.
Love it. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I
And then,
lead with influencing, which is probably not a surprise for anybody that knows me, but also supposedly very rare. Influencing is the least represented domain. So,
interesting.
very interesting.
I love that. I love the leadership domains and talking about that with folks, and it makes such a great conversation in teams as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's fun. I can see all of those in the work that you do, so I love
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
So the Kelly is helping me in just a few days, a week from today.
Yeah.
We are going to be starting the Certified Personal Brand Strategist class. And what I love about this class, so I took this class in 2012 when I was just starting. Well, I'd started my business a few years before that. I was just going out on my own after doing some subcontracting. And for me, this class was the permission I needed to do business my own way and be me instead of being my mentor, and really decide how I was going to interact with my clients and the world, right? And I think that if I was just, my first presentation at the first job club I ever went to, I wish in some ways it had been recorded, because then I was just figuring it out. And when you get the opportunity to know your brand and then own your brand, I feel like you just become more and more confident, comfortable, and commanding, but not in a bad way. I don't know that that's saying the right words, but you know what I mean.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You as you become more confident and comfortable in your brand, that imposter syndrome drops. It's
Mhm.
that's probably the big one. Uh, Also, you're reducing that burnout, and you're not masking as much at work because you know who you are. You know what you bring to the table. So this class just is really good for helping you figure that out. I enjoyed it at that time. I was just really kind of starting to figure out how I wanted to show up. And much like you, Marie, the class kind of helped me recognize that I can do this work and I can be in this space and I don't have to be Michelle Carroll Jr. I can be Kelly Carroll, you know? Uh, and I can forge my own path and we can work well together with our own strengths, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We didn't do, I don't know if they did strengths work in this. I did a coaching program, leadership coaching program inside a municipality. And at the end, they all had to give a presentation. And one of the people, he had built this whole PowerPoint with caricatures of everyone else in the cohort. And at the very end, he said, what this program gave me was permission to be me. And it showed
Mhm.
me how much more effective I can be at work when I am me. And I thought, wow, like
Yeah.
that is powerful. And that's what I feel like this certified personal branding strategist does as well, is it gives you permission to be you, and then it gives you a process to help your clients feel the same way.
Absolutely. I absolutely 1000% agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I've just seen you blossom since we started working together. I was looking at you gave a testimonial after your first CTL conference in San Diego. It must have been 5, 6 years ago
Oh, that was
now.
Philly. That was Philly,
It was
I
Philly.
think. Philly was the first conference, but I might have given the testimonial after San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, just it was to see how much that you've grown since then.
Yeah.
It's so fun. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing your strengths, talents with us
Absolutely. Thank
as
you
we
for
start the
having me.
class.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're out there and you haven't signed up to go to San Diego with us yet, now is the time. We've got 2 months and a few days until we'll be in San Diego all together in person, really figuring out how we're going to lead people through this year and the job market and the transitions that are happening in the workplace. It's always an opportunity to refill our own cup and to think about what we need to help other people.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's definitely been one of those professional development things that I've decided I'm just going to every year because it's just that powerful. So,
All right, closing thoughts on strengths. If people are working with clients, and what's one or two questions they can ask or little activities that they can do to help their clients tap into their strengths?
um, I would say asking the traditional question, what do people come to you for? What do people typically come to you for help with, for support with? As somebody else put it, I don't remember who said it, but before they essentially crash out or run into the brick wall, what are they coming to ask you for support with? Because
Mm,
that is usually core of what you are strong with and what they know they can count on you to help them with. And I think another thing is reminding clients that knowing your strengths and talking about your strengths is not a bad thing. It's not egotistical. It's helping with clarity around the language of how to talk about yourself and how to toot your own horn. So instead of saying I'm bad at talking about myself, when your clients say I'm bad at telling people about myself, it's that they don't have the framework to explain their value. It's not that they're bad at talking about themselves. So helping them with that framework is really the goal. So yeah.
yeah, and finding ways to talk about their strengths that feel comfortable for them so
Mhm.
that they can do it. Because if we don't speak our strengths, we can't move in those directions, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. You're gonna
Absolutely.
get put where other people want you instead of where you wanna go.
Where you wanna go. Yeah. Yep.
All
So,
right. Well, thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Michelle, and Anthony and Valerie for visiting with us. And we are going to be back next Tuesday with another Trend Tuesday Live. Also, watch for the announcement for our Friday AI and Career Services this Friday. And it was so wonderful to have you here, Kelly. Thanks for sharing your strengths work.
thanks for having me. It was fun to be here.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.